welcome to Tea Time. I'm Chaiti Narula here from JP Greens in Greater Noida, and today we're going to be playing hole number 12, part 3, of course. On the show today, I've got a very interesting entrepreneur now across the India Incorporated circuit. He's known for his sense of camaraderie. He is intellectual, he's intelligent, he's been a serial entrepreneur for 2 decades now. He has started up many companies and come back to India to start something called as Clove Dental. And with him today, we will be understanding in much detail what it really takes to be an entrepreneur. With me today is Amar Singh on the green.
On the show this week, we have Amarinder Singh, promoter and CEO, Clove Dental.
India is still developing. There's a lot to be done. And so why would you not be here? Why would you not be here? Why would you be anywhere else? You know, there's more opportunity, more excitement here than it is anywhere else in the world.
In news, Oliver Wilson wins the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship. And Miriam Lee wins the Rainwood Classic.
Beautiful tea of Amar. Welcome to Tea Time.
Thank you.
It's so amazing to be around in your company. You almost get a spring in your own feet when you're around you. You know, that's the kind of impact you have on people, really.
Well, I don't know about that. You know, it's about the excitement and energy. As an entrepreneur, you know, one thing you have to have in common, and that is you have to be passionate and energetic in everything you do, because it demands a lot. So
now, Amar, what does it really take to be an entrepreneur? And this I need to ask from an entrepreneur who has started up so many businesses and has 2 decades of experience really behind him.
I would say the first thing is humility. And the reason is because an entrepreneur will make mistakes and will make lots of mistakes. So if you are able to accept those mistakes and learn from those mistakes, then you can have some hope of being successful. So that's number one. I think the second thing would be passion.
Right.
You gotta have passion. And the third thing is a little bit of foolishness. Because entrepreneurship means that you're going to do things that nobody's done before.
Right.
And that means you're defying the logic. You're defying the history. You're defying.
Sure.
So unless you are a little bit of someone, or you can call it a visionary or you can call it a foolishness, but that's what it is about. It's about going and doing things that no one has done before.
Now you define entrepreneurship. What does it really take for Amar to be a leader?
For Amar to be a leader, well, you know, I think it is about ability to inspire folks around you, ability to set a vision for whatever you're trying to do, whether it's a vision to start a new company or start a new market or release a new product, whatever the case that may be. So it's about creating the right vision. It's about inspiring the people around you. It's about making sure that they can do their best and they can achieve their best, because certainly no entrepreneur is successful without a team of really good, passionate, and motivated people. So that's really the leadership is all about.
You gave me like 3 things about what it takes to be an entrepreneur now, and you yourself have been a Harvard Business School graduate as well. How important is a degree and a alma mater like Harvard behind you, and how much of a difference does that make? Does every entrepreneur need to be an Ivy League grad today?
I don't think so. I think, you know, certainly what a good education does is, or a good education does, it teaches you certain basics about certain process, whether it's a business, an MBA gives that. However, an Ivy League education perhaps gives you a network in relationships, but that's not important unless you have the passion, the desire, and the ability to do what you want to do. So unless you have that, your network can't help you.
What brings you back to India, Amar?
You know, I was born here. I lived for the first 12 years of my life here. My parents live here. My wife's parents live here.
Right.
We have 2 young daughters, and so the motivation, when I turned 40, so the midlife transition, was to expose my kids to our grandparents, to their grandparents. And you know, the second thing was the opportunity and to give back to the country where I come from. And
Right.
that's the reason I've chosen a field of healthcare, which, you know, whereas I come from technology and, you know, internet, and I've chosen to be in healthcare because that's an industry where I can, you know, do some good as well.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned that. We're going to be discussing Clove Dental in much detail, which is your startup in India as well, but after I tee off.
Okay. Great shot.
Thank you. So Amar, now you're back in India. You've started up Clove Dental. How exciting is dentistry today in India? How are we seeing that paradigm shift come into oral healthcare in this country? Promising space, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, India is a country where we have, we are a country that has a lot of oral health challenges.
Right.
90% of Indians actually have some kind of an oral health challenge, and yet only 10% actually seek a solution for it. And so from a medical point of view, there is a need for a high quality oral health care. Now, dental health in particular,
Right.
or dental care in particular, is very important to be high quality, because you can walk into a place and walk out with a disease you didn't have. So you want to make sure that you're walking into a high quality facility. So, and unfortunately, I think India needs a little bit more of focus on quality and hygiene. It's happening in the hospitals, but
Right.
it's not always happening in a neighborhood dental environment. So that's the opportunity we saw, is to bring in high quality healthcare to address the medical need of the country.
Now, I believe that when you came down to India and you wanted to start up in India, you wanted to make a difference, of course, and there were two options lying right in front of you. One was education and one was healthcare, like you mentioned offline to me. Why healthcare and why not education?
Well, healthcare, healthcare is an industry where, if you look at the prime need, India has 1.2 billion people. We unfortunately are doing a lot to educate our country, but certainly healthcare is one of those things that, whether or not you educate it or not, you need some healthcare. So healthcare is perhaps a bigger opportunity from that point of view,
Right.
and perhaps a more fundamental need
Right.
from that point of view. So while I'm a big fan of education, as you can imagine, but we looked at healthcare, and secondly, more importantly, there is dentistry in particular. Healthcare is direct to consumers, where customers or patients make their own decision rather than going through an intermediary. So it's an opportunity for us to connect directly with our customers, with our patients, and show them an opportunity to come into a high quality environment.
What are your plans going forward for Clove Dental? You've already established yourself very well in the Northern Indian geography. Are you planning to go pan-India very soon?
Absolutely. I think the business plan for us is to actually have a pan-India presence.
Right.
We plan to open about 350 or so clinics over the next few years across the country. Our typical model is to go into a geography and open 30, 40 or 50 locations, so that we can bring the economies of scale and thereby drive our prices down, so we can offer high quality at low cost to affordable cost to our patients.
You mentioned affordable cost, which means that you're looking at some sort of standardization at affordable price points across pan-India when you do that. Now, with the given scenario in India, how is standardization possible without compromising on the quality, really?
Right, so on two levels. One is price standardization, the other one is a service standardization. So
Right.
on the price, actually, it's more regional, because the different parts of country have a different sub-economies. So pricing is much more regional. In terms of service quality, that can be standardized, and we follow a strict standard operating procedures for our doctors. We hire the best. In fact, recently we hired 150 doctors after looking at 26,000 resumes. So we're very, very selective. So we hire the right people, give them the right training, and then provide some environment for them that and focus on ethics. So those things combined together can deliver a consistent service. We do quality audits, we do service checks, we do case reviews of our doctors. So we do a lot of checks and balances to make sure that the service that our patients are getting is consistent.
Amar, if one goes through your career graph and the kind of companies you founded before, it's quite interesting and inspiring for young startups of the country as well. Now, let's talk about Amative. How did you go about creating a niche for yourself in that space of cloud computing back when you did?
I was leaving SAP, where I was running a large business unit,
Right.
and the opportunity came across where a company out of Japan called Mitsui was spinning off a vertical,
Right.
one of their companies. And so we took the company over and we turned it around, and the opportunity was a turnaround and to build a service cloud platform. I'm talking 2007 when we used to call it software as a service, not quite cloud yet. And so it was an earlier pioneering effort in that space. Again, you know, as an entrepreneur, you think about opportunities and something you get passionate about. So I really can't tell you what, you know, what got into me at that time or why I chose it, but it was what I got inspired by, and we got into it and started the company. And always, as any startup entrepreneur will tell you, that what you start up with usually end up with something different because you learn, you improve, you learn and you improve. So the company ended up being a software as a service or a cloud computing platform for supply chain applications, and we successfully sold it in 2010, and you know, so that was the amateur journey.
How about Simplexes then? You co-founded Simplexes as well. How did that come into being? Let's understand that.
Simplexes was quite in the 99 space, so it's been dating back a little bit. But this was a company at the height of the internet. Now what we call the bubble, but certainly back in those days,
Right.
it was an exciting time for technology. I had moved to San Francisco from Dallas, and so the idea was to focus on education space. So it was actually an education company, and so we started it with the three of my business school classmates, and we got together, started a company, and once again went in and started thinking about ideas and invited a gentleman named Lamar Alexander, who was the former Secretary of Education for the United States, to be
Right.
the chairman, and he gave us the guidance and blessings, and you know, there we were fixing the public education in the U.S.
Oh, that's fantastic. You know, now you just mentioned Silicon Valley some time ago now. That's a space where you belong. I mean, there are so many of these venture capitalists and private equity guys, and it's very easy to find an incubator right there. But in India, don't you think the impediments are many when you're trying to start up a business, given the regulatory environment and other external factors that bog down an entrepreneur really in this country?
You know, when you asked me earlier, what does it be to be an entrepreneur, and I said being foolish.
Yeah.
You know, so I think when you're a fool, as I call it, you take on challenges that perhaps seem daunting to others, and
Right.
that's the definition of a true entrepreneur, I would say. So I would say India has lots of opportunities. The market is, the middle class is growing from a couple of 100 million today to over 600 million over the next decade.
Right.
The opportunities are tremendous, and India is still developing. There's a lot to be done. And so why would you not be here? Why would you not be here? Why would you be anywhere else? You know, there's more opportunity, more excitement here than it is anywhere else in the world. So I guess I'm a fool. You know, there you go.
Let's lay a chip shot on that note. Come,
Great.
come. Lovely.
Oh,
Good one, nevertheless.
almost hit the pin.
Yeah.
Great shot.
Thank you. With that, let's take a quick break right here on Tea Time. We're in an interesting conversation rather with Amar Singh, and on the other side we'll stay in conversation with him and understand really what it takes to be an entrepreneur in much more detail than what he's already highlighted. Take a break, we'll see you on the other side. Thank you for staying with us on Tea Time and welcome back. Now, Amar, how important is salesmanship to be an entrepreneur? Most entrepreneurs seem to be ignoring that at their peril these days.
Well, I think if salesmanship is perhaps one of the most important things. If you are an entrepreneur, you are selling your idea, your product, your vision, your passion to others, whether
Right.
it's your employees, whether your team members, your
Yeah.
board of directors, your venture capitalist, or your customers. So I think salesmanship is absolutely important, and all entrepreneurs have it. The only difference is, are they focusing on it? Are they realizing that whatever they're doing to sell to their employees, to sell to their VCs, are they using the same skill to sell to their customers? Because that's where the money comes from. That's where the revenue comes from. So if you're a business for profit,
Right.
then you ought to be thinking about salesmanship. Absolutely.
Okay, and you know, from within the India Incorporated circuit, from within the employees of yours at Clove Dental as well, we've known you to be a very happy-go-lucky person. We've known you to have a lot of energy at the workplace, on and off work also otherwise. You're very modest from my personal discussion with you, I gather this. Now, does golf help you in all these aspects? Because it's very synergetic to golf also
Absolutely.
as a game.
You know, golf is one of those games that it's addictive because it, much like entrepreneurship, by the way,
Right.
it's addictive because you're usually playing with yourself. You're usually striving to get better at every stroke.
Right.
And there's never a good shot. There's always a room to improve a shot. So I think it's, I find that, and also, more importantly, it's a game where I can come and relax, and only place where my brain shuts down from my other idea. So this is the only place I can relax, and this is therapy for me. So for me, golf is my yoga.
Have you ever cracked a business deal on a golf course in your life?
Absolutely. You know, it's about business deals happen when you meet friends who you can connect with, and if you happen to be on a golf course with some folks who you are relaxed with, you're talking, they get to know you as an individual, as a person, sure. But that's as many as I've probably cracked in a coffee shop, having a conversation with the right, or in the office. So
Yeah.
I think that's about, coming back to your previous comment about salesmanship, it's about having a conversation, being sincere, and going out and sharing your passion. And people do believe in passions.
In India, a lot of entrepreneurs face a lot of struggle really because of the kind of non-single window clearances they have for so many issues. Would you call India a rather difficult market to deal with?
Different. Different for sure. I wouldn't say less or more difficult.
Right.
I think difficulties exist in every market. I come from a supply chain optimization background, so I kind of joke with my friends that it's about you have different set of constraints to solve your objective. So India is different. You know, there are challenges with finding the right quality of passionate team people, members. India's education system needs some room, I guess. You know,
Right.
there are great colleges and great universities, and there are lots of not so great colleges and universities. So,
Right.
it's about filtering. It's about making sure you meet the right people. I'm a little bit surprised about the overall general work ethic. You know, often a younger generation that I find, younger than me, I guess, are sometimes looking for a fast buck, and without putting in their due effort. I think that's perhaps a matter of just, immaturity or.
Did you always want to do all of this when you were growing up, or did you envision something else for yourself back then?
Well, I left India. Before I left India, I was in a military school in Dehradun, Rashtriya Indian
You were in
Military,
Dune?
Rashtriya Indian Military College.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
RIMC. And so I had, perhaps, my other career would have been in the armed forces, and I was joking with someone else the other day that perhaps I would have made it past the major rank, perhaps. But coming to what I had envisioned, I think as an entrepreneur, you sometimes stumble upon it. Your certain personality, your way of life. I think so. I wouldn't say that I planned this. Much like I wouldn't say I planned my move to India. 10 years ago, if you'd asked me,
Yeah.
I'd be standing here today talking to you and running a dental company in India. I would have probably laughed you out of the door. So I think it's about happy-go-lucky. Take the opportunity that comes to you and make the best use of it.
And what about getting funding in India for most young entrepreneurs who are about to start up? What is your take really on finding the right kind of funding right here
Yeah,
in
I
this
think
country?
as
Is it
I look at many of the VC firms, many of them are friends of mine, classmates of mine from business school. And many of them focus on the mid to later stage of the business because they feel the risk associated with the early stage of startups is much higher. Which is understandable because often entrepreneurs try to chew too much and they put a vision which is too far reaching and they tend to get lost. So there is opportunity for VC firms and for entrepreneurs to really focus on the early stage seed capital as we call it, or early stage capital. There are a few companies. So the real opportunity in India is usually for companies that have established themselves to a
Right.
certain size.
Right.
And then there's a lot of money chasing good deals. But that being said, there's always money available for good ideas. I've never had an issue. I've raised over $70 million across my different startup companies, and I've never, touch wood, have had any problems raising money because if you're passionate about what you want to do and you have a good solid idea, you've done your homework, there's no reason why you can't raise money.
Interesting. Now, what is with you, Harvard grads, and not saying that you belong to that school? Because most of y'all are being modest about things. And y'all say we studied somewhere in Boston, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess, oftentimes friends tell me that, some friends of mine who were with me before business school and after business school, they said, hey, Amar, you become arrogant. And I swear I hadn't changed. So, the reality is sometimes people's perceptions change of you. They look at you a little differently. So to avoid not losing my friends, I just went to a school in Boston, so.
And what is your take on carrying people with you? Isn't that a very important part of being a good leader?
Absolutely, absolutely. There is not one entrepreneur or not one successful business person who's done it alone. Absolutely. So the team makes absolute difference. You cannot do it alone. You have to inspire them. You have to make sure that they can do their best. And typically, someone, I think it was Jack Welch, who once said that, the best CEO is a person who hires people who are smarter than him and gets out of the way, right? So I look for people who are much smarter than me, and I give them the responsibility, and I stop bothering them, right? That's the right way to get. So if you can find people like that, you'll be successful.
Interesting. Let's finish our game. Come.
Okay, great.
Come.
Putting is always tough.
It is.
It's similar to a startup company where you're close to your goal and then you miss it. So that's the way that you try it again and you'll be successful. That's how it works.
Come, I'm going to do that again.
Yeah.
Then.
There you go. Great.
How do you find time to take time out and play golf? It's a long game.
Well, I tee off at 5:30.
I find it very ironic actually, because it's a CEO sport. Most CEOs are the most busiest people in the world, but they're playing golf, which takes so much time and such a time-consuming sport.
There's a TV show on called Suits. I don't know if you watch it.
I watch it regularly.
And there is one CEO who says, he was asked why he's sitting and having coffee, and he says, as a good CEO, if you're doing a good job very well, you have all the time in the world. That means you have a good group of people doing the right work for you. So, but that being aside, as an early stage company, we are still very busy. But I tee off at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So I play twice a week, and I'm 5:30 to 8:30. I'm done and I'm still in the office by 9:30. So
really?
I can get that in.
How much of golf do you really follow on television as well? Any particular players that you really look up to?
Well, Rory these days is definitely doing very well. I was a Tiger fan for a number of years, but then his outside the golf activities have kind of made a little bad impression on me. So I'm now a big fan of Rory, who's up and coming, and I'm inspired by his focus and dedication, and so he's a good player.
And from the Indian golfers, which one do you think is the rising star in the country today?
Well, I know a few of them. I played. G. Milka Singh is a good friend of mine because I've actually had a chance to play with his dad. So and so I follow him, and I have a couple other players, but. I think we have a few good players who have a potential and they're doing well already on the Asian and European circuit, and I'm hoping that soon we'll see someone in the top 20 PGA.
Right, interesting. Now, we all live life by a few rules, all of us do. What are the rules by which Amar lives his life?
I would say trust, respect, and integrity. So those would be my three words. I think those will be the 3 words. And I think they're self-explanatory. So, having trust in yourself, having trust in your colleagues, having trust in your vision, respecting your elders, respecting your team members, respecting, so at Clove, I would respect my drivers, my janitors, my dental assistants, my doctors, and all the professionals that we have, and we call them professionals,
Right.
So, and it's about respect. And the last thing is integrity. If you do things right, if you focus on making sure that you keep your ethics in check, I think there's no reason you will fail.
Your final thoughts for young entrepreneurs of today who are about to start up?
Be persistent. Be persistent. Whatever your passion is, go for it. Don't take no for an answer. And I tell you, learn from the ant. Climbs the wall and keeps climbing until it makes it successful. So I think we have a lot to learn from that little insect.
Oh, lovely. On that fantastic note, thank you so much for joining me on TeeTime.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. It was great. Thank you.
With that, it's a wrap on this episode of TeeTime. From me, Chaiti Narula, and Amar Singh, of course. I'm going to leave you with that and see you next week again. Until then, enjoy the flight of a good drive.